Welcome back to Cryptid Account. In this video, I will discuss the 3 most impactful Sasquatch encounters in the last 50 years. Thank you for tuning in. Please comment, like, and subscribe for more eerie tales. The Ruby Creek Incident location, Ruby Creek, British Columbia. Date, September 1941. In the fall of 1941, the Chapman family, George Chapman, his wife Jeannie, and their 3 children, lived near Ruby Creek, a remote area by the Fraser River. One afternoon, Jeannie was at home with her children when she saw something large and strange approaching from the distance. Initially, she thought it was a bear, but as it got closer, she realized this creature was walking upright on 2 legs. Panic set in as the figure neared their property. It was described as a towering, human-like creature, covered in dark, matted hair, standing around 8 feet tall. It headed straight toward the house, moving slowly but deliberately. Jeannie, terrified for her children, grabbed them and fled the house, running toward the nearby railway tracks. From a safe distance, she watched as the creature moved through their yard and toward the barn, seemingly inspecting the area. When George returned home later, he found massive footprints around their home, and in the soft earth near the barn, footprints that were nearly 16 inches long. These tracks, along with the creature's detailed description, were some of the earliest well-documented Sasquatch evidence. Several local men, including Sasquatch researcher John Green, visited the site later to examine the tracks. Though the family never saw the creature again, the Ruby Creek incident remains one of the most compelling early Sasquatch encounters. Albert Ostman's abduction location, Toba Inlet, British Columbia. Date, summer of 1924. Story resurfaced in the 1960s. Albert Ostman's encounter is one of the most bizarre and detailed Sasquatch stories ever told. In the summer of 1924, Ostman, a seasoned prospector, embarked on a solo gold hunting trip in the wilderness near Toba Inlet, BC. He camped for several days, searching the rugged landscape for gold deposits. One night, after eating and settling into his sleeping bag, he felt a sudden, powerful grip lift him off the ground. Ostman claimed that he was carried for miles by something huge and strong, his sleeping bag tied up around him. After hours of being jostled through the woods, he was eventually dropped onto the ground. When he freed himself, Osman found himself in a small valley surrounded by a family of Sasquatches, 2 adults and 2 children. He spent several days in captivity, observing them closely. The male Sasquatch, whom he called the leader, was about 8 feet tall, incredibly muscular, and had a deep chest covered in hair. The female was slightly smaller, while the younger Sasquatches were curious but kept their distance. Ostman believed they were feeding him and had no intention of harming him, but he was desperate to escape. Finally, after tricking the leader by giving him some snuff, tobacco powder, Ostman made a run for it. He eventually found his way back to civilization, but he kept his story to himself for decades, fearing ridicule. It wasn't until the late 1950s that Ostman came forward with his tale, prompted by the rising interest in Sasquatch in BC. While skeptics questioned his story, it has become one of the most famous Sasquatch accounts ever documented. 3. The Harrison Hot Springs Encounter, 90s. Location, Harrison Hot Springs, British Columbia. Date, early 1990s. Harrison Hot Springs has long been a hub for Sasquatch lore, but one particular encounter in the 1990s captivated local residents and tourists alike. A group of tourists visiting the area reported seeing a large, hairy figure moving along the tree line near Harrison Lake. It was the middle of the day, and the group described the creature as standing 7 to 8 feet tall, walking on 2 legs, and covered in dark, matted hair. The creature was spotted moving quickly between trees, disappearing into the forest after a few moments. Witnesses noted that its movement was incredibly fluid for something of its size, and its sheer height and bulk made it impossible to be mistaken for a bear or a human. The encounter occurred near a known Sasquatch hotspot, adding to the region's reputation. Following the sighting, researchers and local enthusiasts flocked to the area, finding large footprints along the lake's edge and in the nearby woods. The local Sasquatch First Nation, whose oral traditions speak of Sasquatch as a guardian of the land, took special interest in the incident, offering cultural context to the modern sighting. Though the creature was not seen again, this encounter reignited interest in the Sasquatch phenomena in Harrison Hot Springs. Thank you for listening. This has been 3 of the most prolific encounters with our big hairy friend in the last 50 years. Cheers.